the Pacific Northwest, a region known for its connection to the outdoors. The many natural features littering the land provide residents a way to interact with the environment. Common activities include fishing, hiking, rock climbing, or kayaking. But one sport less common is surfing, and with good reason. Average water temperatures in the 50s and a long drive await those willing to brave the coast. Similar to most outdoor activities, surfing requires gear. The two staples of surfing in the Northwest are a thick wetsuit and a quality board. Wetsuits must be purchased, but boards are special because they can still be crafted by hand. This shed, located deep in a Seattle neighborhood, has churned out a few surfboards. In a world of factory-produced sports equipment, surfing is unique due to the large amount of local hand-shaped boards. Boards like this one are the product of a shaper and his tools. Beginning with a foam block, or what shapers call a blank, boards like this are carved out using an array of both hand and power tools. A shaper designs a board with many components in mind. Things such as length, width, thickness, and edge shape all play a role in how the board will react once in the water. This blank here has been transformed into the desired shape but needs to be protected. Today, we are going to observe the process of sealing up the board to give it both strength as well as make it watertight. This process is known as glassing. The name glassing is derived from the fiberglass which gives the board strength. Fiberglass is a plastic matrix reinforced by fibers of glass. It is both lightweight and strong. On a short board like this one, only one layer is used. Other, larger, more durable boards require more layers or higher density glass. Then, using sharp scissors, the outline of the board is cut out. Notice that the fiberglass is overhanging the board here. This is because it will be wrapped around during the glassing process. The corners of the fiberglass must be cut to avoid the formation of wrinkles when the edges are wrapped. Following this step comes the toxic one. A respirator must be worn to protect these glassers' lungs from carcinogenic chemicals. Give us a thumbs up. This glasser here is using a two-part epoxy designed specifically for surfboards. This hard epoxy is ideal because it is UV resistant and also has a clear color. Once mixed, this epoxy will bind the fiberglass to the board. The epoxy is then poured and pushed as to completely saturate the fiberglass in liquid plastic. When saturated, then cured, the fiberglass and epoxy will form a durable sealant protecting the board, and one day is brought to a close. After waiting for the epoxy to cure overnight, the board has turned rock hard. After flipping the board, wrinkles are removed with a sharp razor blade. And the fiberglass boundary is smoothed with a power sander. The board is now ready for top lamination. Similar to the bottom coat, the fiberglass is laid atop the board and cut with sharp scissors. But unlike the bottom, the top requires two coats for further protection. The second layer must overhang the first, and is therefore cut a few inches longer. Once again, the two-part epoxy system is prepared and mixed thoroughly. Before soaking the fiberglass, one step incredibly important is performed. Using a narrow brush, a small amount of epoxy is painted onto specialized logo paper. When saturated, the edges of the paper disappear and the logo will be all that remains. Hey, the board's got to have a logo, right? After laying the multiple sheets of fiberglass over the logo paper, the top is laminated in the same fashion as the bottom. And once again, the day is brought to a close. Day 3 of the glassing process begins with the board freshly coated in fiberglass. In this state, the board has the protection of fiberglass, but must be sealed with a clear coat of epoxy to make it watertight. Before the hot coat can be laid, the rough imperfections can be removed with a power sander on every side of the board. And if the glasser just so happens to know an incredibly talented artist, a masterpiece can be created on the bottom. With an idea, a few art supplies, and a lot of tape, the boring bottom of a board can come to life. And voila, a painted board. Thanks, Katie. The board now is ready for its final coats. First, the board is rubbed with alcohol to remove the non-polar oils which would repel the polar epoxy and create uneven patches. Then, masking tape is added to the perimeter of the board. Now, the top is prepped for its hot coat. Using these brushes, and of course, another fresh batch of epoxy, gloved hands will paint the protective coat on the board. It is important to perform minimal brush strokes and let the gel fill in the gaps on its own. And look at that, a beautiful, glossy top coat. And now, onto the bottom. Once again, 1.5-inch masking tape is used to tape the perimeter of the board. An epoxy batch is mixed, and the plastic is painted on. The board is left alone for at least 4 hours. To create a completely smooth bottom, another round of sanding is done, and the final coat of epoxy is applied. A few hours later, the final coat has set and only one step remains, adding the fin plugs. Fin plugs allow a surfer to insert fins. Surfboard fins have a foil shape and provide stability and handling to the vessel. These plugs are set again with epoxy. After one more night and several passes with the power sander, we can finally cast our eyes upon the finished product. The board is durable, glossy, watertight, and overall looks great. Now there's only one final step. Get this board to the coast and get it in the water. Thanks for watching.